Last week, the Niti Aayog, which is the think tank of the government, put out a report titled Deepening the Corporate Bond Market in India. Now, corporate bonds are debt securities issued by companies to fund their business activities. They offer investors regular interest payments and return of the principal amount on maturity. By its very definition, these corporate bonds are long term, maybe 10 years, 20 years, maybe even more. Now, as it stands, the corporate bond market in India is very small. Just a fraction of the securities market. In the USA, it is about 7 times the corporate bond market in the USA. Is 7 times the securities market. It is huge. In fact, it is the main instrument for industrialists, manufacturers to get their capital, to get their funds. Now, in India, the corporate bond market stays at an anaemic 14% of GDP. That is really small, a small part of the requirement. South Korea is 79% and even Malaysia is 54%. When I say that, the corporate bond market in South Korea is 79% of GDP and ours is only 14% of GDP. Now, how did we get to this situation? A bit of history would be useful. The fact is that we were never serious about industrialization or manufacturing. When we say we, our industrialists, not the government at all. The government cannot do this kind of heavy lifting. Our industrialists, our manufacturing industrialists, and were quite happy with their financialization and the financial instruments and things like that, and they were getting good profit out of that. So that's how I would like to call them pseudo-industrialists. Now that has got to change because circumstances require that we do manufacturing. Unlike advanced economies, we never built a large corporate base, industrial base, which will require the issuance of corporate bonds. In fact, corporate bonds come as a result of the desire of industrialists, manufacturers to have a big corporate base. We never had that. And added to that is that there was a cozy relationship, something like this. Government's large fiscal deficit forces it to flood the market with their IOUs, that is their government securities. And that is a massive 15.69 lakh crores. Every year, it's annual. What happens as a result is that there is a crowding out of investment finance. Those who want to invest, they don't have the funds because government has taken the massive issuance of G securities, and to make it attractive, they really go for an offer of a high safe yield of these bonds. So, to sell this massive volume of G securities, I already mentioned the figure of 15.69 lakh crores. Now, to sell this massive volume of G securities, and that is the way it is financed every year because of the fiscal deficit, the government offers a high safe yield on these bonds. This high zero risk is a kind of temptation that crowds out at corporate borrowing and in turn makes it prohibitively expensive for manufacturers, industrialists to issue their own debt. And this results in lazy banking, what I call lazy banking, as institutions, pension funds, banks all vie with each other to invest in safe these securities, government securities, with zero risk and high yield over any arrangement of riskier corporate bonds. This is how it is going on. Now, India's long-term development aspirations require significantly more capital than what the banking system and this cozy, shall we say, relationship can offer. And equity markets cannot provide this, and banks, as I just mentioned, are into a kind of very safe and lazy banking, averse to any type of risk. This is the climate, this is the background. And therefore, it would be necessary, as the Niti Aayog, our think tank, has said, that there has got to be a deepening of the corporate bond market. Before that, the corporates have to get serious. They really want to desire a huge corporate base and manufacturing. That is where it is. I would leave it at that, because for me, it is not for me to come out with prescriptions. The government's think tank have got very, very qualified professional figures doing that. The purpose of this video is only to explain the background in which the Niti Aayog paper titled Deepening the Corporate Bond Market in India has to be seen. Now, all this can come to fruition, maybe it will take 5 years or 10 years or so, because these things can't be worked out very quickly. The CBM, the corporate bond market, can be developed only over a period of time, and Niti Aayog knows the kind of support elements that are required, the regulations and government support and all that, so that architecture is strong and is in place.